All right, we will call the meeting to order. Jen, would you take roll, please?
Commissioner Corbin.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Waldner. Commissioner Thill.
Here.
Mayor Lindsay.
Here. You have attached the minutes of the November 2nd meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes from November 2nd.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You have before you the agenda for this evening.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You have attached the October building permit report. Jen, is there anything, or Chad, to add to what you see on there?
I do not have anything to add, Your Honor.
Okay. Do we have a motion to acknowledge?
I'll make a motion to acknowledge the building report as set forth in the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no old business, under new business. Approve the video lottery machine license for the Happy Hour LLC JB's. Jen, is there anything that we should know aside from what's in here?
Nope. Nope,
Everything's,
there's not 5 machines at $50
Uh-huh.
each for a total of $250. This is his application for 2015. He would have to do the same in 2016.
okay?
$50 a annual
$50 a
fee
machine
per year.
per year.
Okay,
We could do better than that.
all right.
Motion to
Questions or
approve.
comment?
Does this come up in January then?
It will come up with one of his renewals. So when he renews his application is when we also collect the video lottery license.
Okay.
Once they're licensed, we don't have, you won't see this application again. They just pay it on an annual basis.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Other
Okay, we have a motion.
Do, to approve?
Okay.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Authorize the finance officer to proceed with additional debt service payment, First National Bank, Electric Revenue Refunding Bonds, Series 2010. Jen, would you like to address this, please?
I shall, and I would invite Commissioner Corbin and Director Lawrence to hop in any part of this explanation. They're more than welcome. As of December 15th, 2015, and anytime thereafter, remember that, anytime thereafter, our electric revenue refunding bonds, Series 2010, are callable. These bonds have been in place since 2004. Initially, they were $4,310,000, and they were bonded for electric distribution improvements. Okay, they were refunded in 2010 at a principal amount of $3,165,000. And following our 2015 payment, which is going to be due mid-December, the remaining principal balance will be $1,665,000.
One more
Okay.
time? Can you say that one more time? The
Um,
remaining balance, the remaining
starting out,
balance.
Remaining balance is $1,665,000,
Thank you.
okay? Now, after much discussion the last couple of weeks with Commissioners Corbin, Commissioners Thill, Mayor Lindsay, primarily Director Lawrence, also some guidance from First National Bank and Doherty and Company, and following
Jen?
some,
Would you pull your mic around, please?
Here you go.
Thank you.
okay. And
Get
also
involved.
following some estimated year-end cash balances, what a principal payment would do to our cash balances. We would like to recommend that we pay $705,000 of this principal balance yet in 2015. That payment would save the city about $113,000 in interest over the term of the loan. And remember I said that they were callable December 15th and any time thereafter, which means we can revisit the situation in early 2016, maybe 6 months into 2016, and possibly come back to you with a request to pay remaining principal, even as much as all of what we have left in principal. Because by then it will be year 2016. 2016 is already budgeted for. 2017, as per bond covenant, we need to have 1 year's worth of bond payments in a restricted reserve. we could put the 2017 principal, pay off the 2017 principal with those restricted funds, and then if we could come up with about another $335,000 in operating cash, we could pay off the 2018. Okay?
And that would take it down to zero.
And that would take it down to zero.
Very good.
Some substantial interest savings could be realized. I can't give you a pretty dollar amount right now. It all depends on the timing. Depends on the timing of if we could do this and when we could do this.
And by making the payment right now of 700,000, that still leaves us with the amount that the policy says we should have 2 months of operating reserve, and that would put us right about that, what the policy says that we should be holding. So,
And what our electric utility director is
Yep.
comfortable with, which is very important.
very good.
I think
Comments?
we're achieving his comfort level because we're looking at a pretty sizable savings by doing this.
I make it equate it to playing poker and having
Okay,
a good.
Brad, if you'd step right to that mic close, because one of the things in that we do hear from people at home is they can't hear the people. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
I equate it to being like in a poker game and having real good pot odds. In other words, for the money that we're spending, we're getting quite a bit of savings. And so it was worth the risk. There is some risk, obviously, of drawing down your cash. Anytime you do that, you run a risk that you don't have as much cash available if something should go wrong. But I think in this case, it's justified. And it keeps us still at about 24% of our gross revenues, which is kind of the floor that we had talked about establishing in our reserve policy. So I do believe it's justified in this case to expend the dollars to get the savings, and over the long term, it's gonna save the utility quite a bit of money, so I think it's a good fiscal move, but there is some minor risk.
I agree totally.
I'm just happy that we're in this opportunity where we can look at saving money ahead. I think
Yes?
it bodes well for our city that our finance officer's closely been monitoring these things, and we can pay it down and save some money for the ratepayers in the electric department. And as we continue to monitor it, we might be able to have some more savings. But this definitely is our biggest bang for the buck, so I'm looking forward to being able to move forward with this. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other comments?
No, just
I think
pleased to hear
Jen's
this.
been working very hard on this, and I think we need to step forward with it and move on.
We all have group effort. I appreciate everybody's answering of my phone calls, and our finance entities have been very helpful.
Right.
And with that, I would ask for a motion.
I'll make a
Bob?
motion to authorize the finance director to proceed with the additional debt service payment to the First National Bank Electrical Reserve Funding Bonds Series 2010.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I will then, FYI, simply generate a letter. It will go to First National Bank. They will begin the process. In the next several weeks, you will see this $705,000 come through in your bills for approval. Okay, so you will again be, you're authorizing me to do this tonight, but you will actually approve the payment in the next several weeks.
Sounds very good.
Very good.
Number 3, first reading of ordinance 1574, water service application, deposit, payment of charges, penalties, discontinuance. Jeremiah, would you like to address this one?
This has come about, this has actually been quite a while in the making. The finance officer and the billing clerks have been trying to standardize our process to kind of maintain the integrity of our utilities. Over the past several years, our losses have been growing as we've had people that skip town without paying for their utilities. And I think this year we're looking at like about $40,000 in uncollected utility.
We just turned over $40,000 to our new collection agency. That's unpaid as of 2015, this year only.
So I'm gonna
And
let,
not the full year.
right, I'm gonna let Jen go ahead and run with what we're trying to implement here. And I guess if she misses anything, I'll fill in some holes, but.
Okay,
Sounds
please
good.
do. First section there, section 2221, application fee will go to $20. Section 2227, we in the finance office are going to be changing our procedure. And we'll do some additional PR with that as January 1st comes closer. But you'll note the procedure there with the notice of delinquent account. And quite simply, we're going to go from 2 customer notices to 1 customer notice. The time frame will remain the same, the information on the notice will remain the same, but rather than getting 2 letters in the mail after you have missed your due date, you're going to get 1 letter in the mail, okay? Notice of delinquent account. Also, the reconnect fees, still in section 2227, letter D, our reconnect fees are going to go to $50 and $100 for residential and commercial customers. And that is during regular business hours. If you call after business hours, your reconnect fee will be $100 and $200. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Questions?
Okay, I have no questions. Anyone else? All right, do we have a motion on first reading?
Move to approve the first reading of, is this 1574?
Yes.
Ordinance 1574.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. First reading, ordinance number 1575, water rates and charges. Again, I'll ask Jeremiah if he wants to address it first.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Lindsay. This is the water rate increase for 2016, and what we're looking to do this year is actually raise the minimum for 5/8 and 3/4 inch meters, which is what nearly every residential house account in town has. It's a standard home meter. We're gonna raise that by $2, and then the additional meter fee for bulk accounts and multi-dwelling units, that minimum will also increase by $2. That's the only rate increase we're looking at for water.
Okay. Jen, anything to add?
No, no further comment.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve first reading of ordinance number 1575, water rates and charges.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. First reading of ordinance number 1576, the electric application, deposit, discontinuance, reconnection, customer classification. Okay, and again, I'll ask Jeremiah, is this one you want to address?
I'll let Jen take this. This is
Okay.
similar to the water service agreement, but
It is simply specific to electric. So the same types of changes you will see in here, section 737, $20 application fee. Deposits, section 739. We are going to resurrect customer and residential deposits, based on the criteria there. $200 is the maximum deposit we would collect from residential customers. If you are a commercial or industrial customer, you will be required to make a deposit upon application in the amount of 2 times the highest electric bill in the past 24 months. We are already collecting deposits on all of our new commercial customers, okay? However, what we're not used to, if any of you have been here long enough to remember when we collected deposits, there was never an out. Okay, now we're allowing a procedure for you to waive the deposit if you can disclose information from another electric, water, or gas utility of a good credit history. We will waive that deposit. Also, or if you are a current customer, maybe you're a current customer and you're moving from address A to address B, you've got a clean penalty-free record, we would not require you to make a deposit on that move. Okay? Also deposits, if you're a good customer, they will be, after 12 months of satisfactory payment history, they will be applied to your utility account. All right?
so you'll get them back if you can pay for.
Applied to your account with good credit history. Moving on to section 744, again, the same that we've discussed within the water section, notice of delinquent account, and then also the reconnect fees. I did add there section 752, customer classification. There was just some very old verbiage in the ordinance book. This isn't a change, but our ordinance book was still referencing large commercial, small commercial. We haven't used that terminology for a number of years. All right, so just some cleanup with that last section. Questions?
Mr. Mayor, on that, on 737, the $200 deposit for residential, does that also include persons, like subsidized housing, for instance? And on housing units, and does everybody pay the same?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Maybe another question that I might ask that might be helpful to the public along that line is this congruent to other amounts in other communities surrounding us? Is this similar?
Absolutely, right? Director?
Yes, it is. Many of the communities actually would have a calculated amount, and they would go 2 months' worth of the highest bill. So 2 times the highest monthly bill for the electric is what was used for the deposit. And that was kind of the industry standard, if you will. And so that becomes a lot of math. It's gotta be done at the time somebody comes to apply for an account, and especially, you know, rentals and some of those things. And sometimes the person before you might have had a different usage pattern, and it was felt that that'd be a little prejudicial. So that the idea was to get to a good, comfortable level of $200, which probably wouldn't break anybody necessarily, but it would also give us a chance to get some money back, because obviously if we're at, at $40,000 at this point in time in arrears, $200, it's gonna take a lot of $200 at a time to get close to covering that cost. So it was kind of a midway point between what was reasonable and what was needed. And what we really needed probably wasn't gonna be reasonable.
This is kind of an essential step. I shouldn't say kind of, this is essential, and that's trying to shrink that unrecoverable amount of money we have in the utilities, that 40,000 I referenced earlier.
No question, Jeremiah. I don't doubt. This is, just, I guess I asked the question of you, for those who are listening, or will be hearing this from the media sources, or by way of our televised, that this is not something inordinate or
Reviewed
beyond
probably,
what other
yeah,
communities might
Commissioner, we reviewed probably 15 or 20 different policies, and a lot of them, there were repeating themes. And so tried to pick out the best of all the different policies to get something that was, I think, reasonable. Again, that's the key at the end of the day, is it reasonable? And so the outs are important, that if you can, show an established credit history, those types of things, then that kind of helps out a lot. But in the end, what we're trying to do is protect the public's money, the public's interest in the electric system by getting a deposit that's gonna help bring back some of that money so that we aren't hanging out quite so far at the end of the year.
Well, and also it's the rest of the ratepayers and that are paying for that loss.
Exactly. So
Absolutely.
it's just out of fairness.
Yes, so it's a fairness issue.
experiences.
Sure.
Fairness has some subjectivity to it, so.
Mhm.
But nonetheless, I worry a little bit about we have a number of subsidized housing units here, and some of those may meet the requirements after certain conditions to get into housing, but another $200 deposit on top of that. Not impossible, but could be a little stifling. If other communities are learning to live with it, we probably can too. And I understand completely, we gotta try to, these $40,000 loss is a lot of loss.
It is a
If
lot
we
of
don't,
loss, especially in just to this
Our
point in
turnover, I shouldn't
2015.
say, hopefully we won't lose all
Yeah.
that 40,000, but.
And our new collection procedure will hopefully help that too.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Other
Thank you for the
comments, questions, or do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve first reading of ordinance number 1576, electrical application deposit discontinuance reconnection, customer classification.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I think it's also, you mentioned that this is a reenactment. We had this previously.
Yes.
Did you not say? So this isn't something that is
When-
not completely foreign to us.
When we moved to town, I remember coming and having to pay a deposit.
Actually, got more when you moved to town.
No, Yeah, back a day or two.
When it was
Back a day or two,
discontinued,
but, yes.
It was since I've been here, so
It
it's been
was.
within the last 15 years.
Thank you.
First reading ordinance number 1577, electric rates and charges. Again, Jeremiah, this is your
This is
department?
the time of year when we talk about raising our electrical rates. And this year, through some due diligence and some lower purchase power costs, we're looking at a 1.5% rate increase for electric. Off the top of my head, I can't recall the last time we had one that was this small. And it's going across all rates, classes evenly. We're just experiencing 1.5% rate increase. I'm pretty excited to report that, actually. Also, in the ordinance, we are tweaking the cost for security lights in the alleys. Those rates will be going up a little bit. Did I miss anything, Finance Officer?
You're good.
Okay. Questions, comments? Again, last year and this year are the lowest rate increases that we've had in about a decade. So it is exciting to see that things are working well.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I have
sir.
a question. These lights in the parks, like out to Bachman Park, are they security lights or are they just regular off the?
I'm not sure, Commissioner, how they're being billed in that particular location. We can certainly check with the system. I know there's certain lights throughout the city that are listed as street lights. And then there are others that are security lights that are billed to a certain, individual or account. I'm not sure which ones are which off the top of my head.
I was just wondering if we could get by with half of the use of lights out to Bachman Park through the winter months in the swimming pool and around any other parks that we could possibly cut down on electrical use.
Okay. I think it's worth looking into.
We'll certainly look into it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Very good. We had a motion
So moved.
and
Second.
second. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
That's really good work on everybody's part that was involved. That's great to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 7, first reading ordinance number 1578, payment of users' wastewater service charges, penalties, and discontinuance. Again, Jeremiah, in your department?
I will, again, the finance officer's getting so good at breaking these down, I'll let her do this one.
Okay,
Times 3, this is the third one. We've done water, we've done electric, this is now sewer. Notice of delinquent account. Needed to change the verbiage within the sewer ordinance.
okay. Anything more to it than that?
Nope.
I'll make a
right.
motion to approve first reading of ordinance number 1578, payment of users' wastewater service charges, penalties, discontinuance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 8, first reading of ordinance number 1579, wastewater user charges. Jeremiah, would you like this?
Yeah, probably my favorite one of the night, thank you, wastewater charges. We are looking at increasing the residential rate on the base by $250 a month, increase that up to $1250 per month. Commercial industrial, we're looking at raising that $5 per month. That'll be, the base charge will be $25 a month for commercial industrial users. And then, when I was working with the finance officer on this, we did notice an omission the past probably 15 years. The fee for services after first connection was sitting down there at $2.50. And those are dwellings, and they should essentially have the same rate. I actually argue a little bit lower, just because typically they have a higher concentration of users, so they can be a little bit lower than commercial, but they are residential, but they need to be close to it. Therefore, since they've missed their increases for the last 15 years, I'm proposing we move that from $2.50 up to $10 per month. Any questions?
Okay.
This comes back to just allocating the cost of our wastewater system fairly. And I feel when we establish our rates like this, we will have, they'll be allocated very fairly.
Mhm.
Nobody will be subsidizing anybody. Commercial, industrial aren't subsidizing residential. Residential aren't subsidizing those high-density units.
Other questions or comments? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. Approve first reading of ordinance 1579 wastewater user charges.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 9, authorize mayor to sign task order number 2, DGR Engineering 2016 Electric Distribution Conversion Project and the Egan Avenue streetlight upgrades. Chad, would you want to address this one?
Thank you, Your Honor. I can make a few comments. This is a task order for the next phase of the electric conversion projects. There was a master agreement signed with DGR in December 1st of 2014, and that's whereby these task orders are accomplished for a continued sequential services, so to speak. So as you'd indicated in the announcement of this agenda item, there's 2 components to the work primarily, and one is the conversion project itself, where there will be underground, overhead will be converted to underground, and there'll be some secondary overhead primary circuitry will be upgraded as well. The general area would be 9th Street Northeast to 4th Street Northeast, and then from Washington Avenue to Roosevelt Avenue. The contractor will bury the lines and install the lines, and then the department staff will accomplish various tasks in a similar fashion as they have done in previous years, with terminating meter replacements and then cutovers. That's a general summary. There's much more detail as you have seen in the task order. And then the second component is the Egan Avenue streetlight, decorative streetlight replacements. The existing structures are to be replaced with new decorative structures. We'll have some integral outlets in those, and the capability to hang flower baskets, and likely be utilizing LED fixtures for these. We'll use the existing circuitry or the wiring up along the street. We made a decision not to replace that, but to tie in to the existing circuitry. The city forces, the electric department will be removing the existing structures, installing the new structures, and then doing the connections. The contractor essentially is going to be boring some holes, putting in some footings, so that the electric department can make the appropriate connections and actually install the lights. So that's a general description. The cost of the work was talked about at budget time, and the 2 projects together, you'll notice on page 3 of 5 of the task order is $740,000. Approximately $560,000 of that was for the electric conversion project, and approximately $180,000 was for the Egan Avenue lights.
Very good.
And I'd be happy to try to answer any other questions. I've also reviewed this with Commissioner Corbin and Utility Director Lawrence as well.
And also, one of the reasons in that we want to upgrade those lights on Egan Avenue is that they are wooden fixtures that are rotting, and some of them have already fallen over. And it is a safety issue as well, because we do not want them falling and injuring someone. So it's time for them to be upgraded with ones that are safer and also utilize and use less electricity by going to the LEDs. So,
Mr. Mayor,
yes,
Chad, when you talk about this, when we say Egan Avenue, we're talking about Main Street.
I'm sorry, yes, in Main Street from
Yes.
2nd Street to
Public
2nd Street.
information.
yes. I think there's, if I remember the count right, like 36,
I think there's
Yeah.
something in that
32.
neighborhood.
32, I
32.
think.
Something in that
But
neighborhood.
there's a couple more at the depot.
At the
that-
depot.
That have had some
Yep.
similar type that are problematic, so you add those 2 in, I think you're up to
Yes,
34.
somewhere in that
probably.
neighborhood.
Yep.
But yes, those are the ones we're discussing.
I think the landlords of the depot should probably just take care of that. Oh, we are the landlords.
We are the landlords at the depot.
How many more years of overhead to underground conversion do we have left? Do you anticipate?
Initially, it was a 5-year,
Right.
but it is something that should be ongoing, because you don't want to stop partway and then have old wiring in the other part of the town. But we're in the 3rd year at this point, right?
I believe it's the third year.
Third year,
yes.
third year of an initial 5-year proposal.
But it doesn't cover all the, for instance, my alley was one of them. It doesn't cover all the, are we converting everything to underground throughout the community?
the plan is eventually to, except for the main loop around town. And then some of those may go underground as well, but, I believe it was about a 10-year plan. About 10 years ago, we did a plan, we updated the plan to try to do that in the work identified in there. It was 5 phases, whether that's done, it's all a function of funding essentially, whether it's done in 5 years or 10 years. And then as we start to get closer to the end of that, we'll reevaluate what the loads are in different problem areas at that time and kind of continue. I wouldn't be able to probably give an accurate estimate at this time, how many more years we had left, because it's sort of an ongoing process. We're moving as we go. I don't know, Mr. Lawrence, has had any comments on this since he's been here and made some observations as well?
There's 2 components to the question, and that is, one is the financial side, how much can the city afford to do each year? The second component is how much can we actually accomplish physically on the ground with the work crew while they're doing the normal maintenance of the system, that type of stuff. So those are the 2 that kind of compete for the amount that you can get done in a year. And there is some possibility, like we'll find out this coming year, if we can do as much, again, in the conversion project, plus do the street lighting project on top of it. And I think the original plan had somewhere close to this $740 for annual commitments for improvements. I don't know that we'll find out this next year if we can accomplish all of that physically on the ground. And so it's a challenge. We're gonna take it up and do the best we can. I think we can probably get it done, but it's, that's gonna be the 2 things that are gonna compete, the dollars and the capability of getting all that work done.
And then there was a time when, 2005-06, when the northwest part of town, there was a lot already done up in there. The main thing when you do a project like this is that you're replacing the old, outdated wire, because wire is like anything. Over time, it gets brittle, it gets higher resistance. You know, wiring wears out just like anything else does. And so it's also, you know, as you move through the project and that, taking a look at the town and finding out, have we really taken care of all the really oldest wiring, and are we good for a few years? So it's an ongoing process, and then hopefully as the town develops, the power in the area that's developing is capable of carrying the load that's needed. So it's an ongoing process of looking at it and analyzing it and moving forward. But at this point, I think we're in year 3 of a 5-year plan.
This is the,
Currently 15.
we've accomplished phase 1 in 3 parts. The one we're approving, I think we're completing the 3rd year, and then we're starting the 4th year with this project,
Okay.
if I recall correctly, because this is, we did phase 1 in 2 steps, and part of that this year was the 3rd one. We jumped to phase 3 because of some coordination efforts that we had to do with the highway reconstruction project, and so now we're jumping back to phase 2. That was appropriately selected as the second phase, as a little bit more need than phase 3, and so we're jumping back to a component of phase 3. We don't accomplish necessarily a phase every year, and I think that might be why, Mayor, you had thought 5 years, because there's 5 phases.
5 phases.
But because of funding, we
Got it.
acknowledge that we can probably, it's gonna stretch out over a little more than 5 years.
Remembering that we initially bonded, the bonds that we're talking about paying off right now were Series 2004, and we bonded $4.3 million. Same piece, a different piece of the same project, correct?
It was.
Yeah,
it
that was, is that the northwest
That was,
portion of
right.
town?
That was a conversion project that, like you said, we bonded for, but as you all are well aware, we're not bonding anymore, we're just
Right.
annually, as Mr. Lawrence had mentioned, we're putting in approximately that 500, 700,000 based upon what the budget can handle and based upon what the workload of his staff can do.
Can accomplish in the
determinations.
summertime.
Yep.
No, very good,
Thank you.
very good.
Maybe-
2 things that into consideration, so, excuse me, Bob.
Go ahead.
Or, you know, what can the area that we're talking about can handle the load, you know, load management, and then also the quality of the materials underground. Are they still open up, or can they handle that load, or those kinds of, there seems to be two determining factors there. Do we decide those as we put this plan together? The five, year one was ABC, those decisions made previously based on those criteria? And others, I'm sure, but,
We had a GGR accomplish a study, and we're basically taking off from that, but one of them is different criteria, voltage drops, to maintain different standards that our customers want to maintain. I can't cite the, in the industry, there's a certain standard that we want to, and if there's deviations from that, that's what helped in the prioritization. And then also faulting and different maintenance issues like that. And I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the plan anymore since you've been.
Part of the desire was to get converted over to the higher
Right.
voltage, which would accomplish the voltage drop issue. You get so much voltage drop per lineal foot, per mile, however you wanna calculate it. And so when you go to the higher voltage, what happens is your current drops. Because power is current times, the voltage. So you go to higher voltage, your current drops, and then you get less loss per mile at a higher voltage. And so that's how you can go to the farther parts of the city and still have the proper voltage without being too high in voltage on the front end. The other thing that they wanted to do, from what I can tell in looking at the plans, was that there was an attempt to try to get as much of that done as possible so that we could shut down some transformers and take some circuits that are on the old lower voltage off, take the transformer out of service, and thereby getting the older parts out sooner and increasing the reliability with the newer parts, if that makes any sense.
so there might be places where transformers just might be removed completely?
There's gonna be some transformers at the electric shop that are gonna be removed here in the not too distant future. So that's the whole plan, was to be able to decommission those and get those taken care of so that they're not a liability, because they are older than the new ones, obviously. The new ones have just been in for, I don't know how long, not very long, the way it sounded. So we're stepping up quite a bit, decades in the newness of the transformer, so that's something that's really good. And, we had some problems, I guess, this last year with the tap changer, which is how they change the voltage. And the parts were hard to come by because it was an older transformer, so that's one of the things you run into. A lot of these companies that were in business 30 years ago are not in business anymore. And so it's kind of nice to be able to move up to something a little bit newer, that hopefully that company's gonna be around in the future, but it's a crapshoot. You never know who's gonna be around 30 years from now as a company. But hopefully the newer equipment will last as good as the old equipment, get the 30+ years out of it, and then, at that time, somebody else will have to worry about fixing it. But we get our 30-year stint, and we're gonna be doing pretty good, I think.
Well, and then the other thing too, the electrical usage in homes today is not what it was 20 years ago.
No.
It's definitely different, definitely different.
Maybe with our downtown street project or lighting program going on next year, maybe we could cut this into half. Instead of going over to Roosevelt, we could stop at Prairie. Would that work? So we make sure we got enough budgeted for the underground.
When we were reviewing it with the lineman and with the superintendent, there's some wire out there that's actually newer than what was originally anticipated, and so it looks like that's gonna reduce some of the cost.
Okay,
And so we're gonna try to kind of maximize the amount we can do with the dollars we have invested and the time we have available, but it looks like there's gonna be some of that we're gonna be able to reuse the wiring. And so that's kind of a bonus, if you will. It's jacketed, it's the, full concentric, all the stuff we need to have for the, process. So it's what we want for wiring the ground. We think it's in good enough shape. It was only put in 6 years ago, I believe, was the number that was
Yeah, I think that's
quoted.
right.
And it'll work. So the idea was that we would reutilize as much of that wire that's good to reduce the cost this year, and maybe expand the footprint of the project a little bit too. Get as much done as we can with the money we've got budgeted. So the exact location of that cloud on your diagram may change, and it may get a little bit bigger and encompass a little bit bigger area. So we're looking at trying to get as much done as we can with what's in the ground and the monies that are available. So we'll do the very best we can to get as much done.
okay, thank you.
Very good. Other questions, comments?
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign task order number 2, DGR Engineering 2016 Electrical Distribution Conversion Project and Egan Avenue Streetlight Upgrades.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 10, authorize the mayor to sign owner's acceptance of contract construction with DGER Engineering, Electrical Distribution Improvements 2015. Again, Chad, would you want to address this?
Yes, thank you. This is basically the completion of, and completion documentation of the project that, for this year. Same project that we were discussing for upcoming year. May Construction was the contractor. This finalizes that this has been accepted. Obviously, you can see in the document itself, the engineer firm who created the design documents is indicating, certifying that this was done in accordance, and of course, the staff from the electric department was there for much of it and agrees with this as well. The original contract amount was, I don't have the exact, but it was $206,000 or so it's just slightly over what was, these are all unit price contracts, so if there's a few more units of this item or that item or a few less, they total them up, and then in the end, whatever the total is what that is. And so the overall project is within budget with our purchase of the materials and then the hiring of the contractor from what we put together for this 2015 project.
Very good. Questions or comments?
Move to authorize the mayor to sign the owner's acceptance agreement. That's an item number 10 for DGR Engineering for the electrical distribution improvements for 2015.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You have attached some personnel adjustments.
Motion to approve personnel.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Announcements and other business. Just letting the public know and that the plans are still moving forward on the new dog and cat pound and that west of town. And there is a standing donation match out there if people want to donate to it and that, then the matching money will be there. So with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Very good.